camera.
Yeah.
Today we're talking a little bit about, we've talked about goals and goal setting. We're talking about implementing the plan, making sure that you actually get somewhere with your goals. If you just have some goals and you just chuck them in a drawer and you look at them, you know, when you're cleaning your drawer out 5 years from now and you're changing offices or something, that really doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So we have Kevin Long and Tommy Sibiga and myself are going to maybe have some similarities in our takes as well as maybe a few differences in our takes. And we're going to start with Kevin.
All right. Thank you all for coming today. Got everyone here. Raise of hands real quick. Who was here last week and kind of filled out with Ben a bunch of goals and everything else? So majority of everybody. If you have not done that yet, I highly suggest sitting down, taking some time. I know some people are slower right now. Take the time and plan out what we got going on. A couple things. I think it was part at least 7 on 5 thing I had with Ben, but the goal setting thing. We kind of want to reverse engineer this today. We have our goals, we've sat down, and what do we want to accomplish next year, and now we want to see how we get there. So I just want to share some goals that I have personally with you guys, and then we'll kind of see how we're going to, my plan for working on getting some of those things. So for me, we just bought a new house. We have a lot of projects still to do. I think you buy a new house, think it's all done and all good. Nope, still things to do. So some things on my list that I plan on getting done in 2024. I need to get built-ins for a lot of rooms in my house. So I got to sell a few more houses here. Also like to get a chunk saved up for a patio out back. More of a personal one here too. Date night / getaway with the wife. The goal is 2 times a month to get out for date nights. 1 weekend trip once a quarter, and then 1 out of the country trip sometime in 2024. And I'm going to reverse engineer this one real quick too. I'm employing my wife as part of the plan for this. Any referral that she sends me, any one of her friends that buys, anything like that, that money funds the trips we go on, date nights, things like that. So we'll have them as a separate little account set aside just for something like that. So that could be something you try to implement with your spouse, get them involved, or family members, parents, anything like that, whatever it may be. Try to include other people and share some of this stuff with them. And then I want to go back to the World Series this year. Ben and I try to go every year. With COVID and kids, some of that, we've taken a couple of years off, but that's one of the goals we want to get back to too. So I have a separate little account. I usually try to earmark a deal or two once I kind of hit some other goals, and that becomes extra money set aside for doing something fun there. Also, like I said, just bought a new house. So my goals too is also utilize the house as part of my business plan. So doing a little New Year's Eve get together here in a couple weeks. A bunch of people come over to watch football Saturday. Got some good playoff games on. Try to get some COI over there, some friends, neighborhood people. The more people you get in front of, more people you talk to, better chance we have of getting some deals there. Plan on doing a March Madness party at the house. That's going to be already marked on my calendar. That is going to be on March 22nd. You guys are not invited, but my COI is. But it is good to have that on the calendar, planned out and ready to go. It's just part about executing the plan. So I'm going to try to do once a month, have some friends over for dinner. This can be either another couple or two. I try to get referral circles together if at all possible. So if I've had, Mara's bad again, she's my sister, but let's just say Mara bought a house, and she referred me Adrian, and then Adrian referred me, Rodney. Then I'm gonna invite all 3 of those couples, try to find a night to come over to the house, say thank you for everything there. So plan to do that once a month. We also have a bunch of friends having babies. I'm more than happy to let my wife host baby showers. Like I said, I want to implement her into some of this plan too, so we have the house to do it now. I want people to come over, use it, enjoy it, and then like I said, it's another way to offer it up, and people are always very appreciative of that. Just finished up Pie Parade. I do that starting off at the house on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. I invite all my people on my pie list to come to the house. And then from there, whoever does not show up, I try to drop off on Monday, Tuesday. That's one more thing I'll do there. I also have a few pop-by campaigns. We're giving out some RLT beanies this year, so some nice kind of quality hats for the winter. So those will be coming in January. I have a day marked off to get those delivered. I'm much more of a shotgun. I'd rather take the one entire day and go see 20 people rather than having the backseat of my car and pop by here and there, whoever I come in contact with. So there's more than one ways to skin the cat on that. That's what works for me. Personally, it's kind of doing that mass, one day flurry, that's what I like to do. I'm doing a Mother's Day get together at a local park on Saturday of Mother's Day weekend. Invite all them over. We're gonna have mimosas, which are going to be the orange juice and some champagne, maybe even a little vodka. Candy hands for Halloween. Usually kind of the month of October, I try to get around. We have candy stuffed into gloves. We give those out, call them candy hands for people. So that's one of my pot pies there. And then obviously we do the pies on that too. So those are some of my goals on that. And then I believe Ben went over or had the marketing calendar for you guys on that too. I have mine, which is one of these ones here filled out. I don't have every single block filled out. This is a lot of things I just went over with you guys as far as what I plan on doing for my plan. Listed out here, you want to have a goal and a plan set up front. You don't want to just be kind of floating into the year and then halfway through it's like, oh, I should do a get together. Plan it out, get people the calendar early. I already know when we're going to do our Flying Squirrels game. That's going to be on June 6th this year. These things are already in my calendar. That way when I'm making phone calls throughout the year, hey, you can't attend the Mother's Day event. Oh, sorry, you can't make it. We also have our Squirrels game coming up on June 6th. Hope to see you there. Always kind of have that next thing in the calendar and ready to go. This is just huge. We want to make sure we have everything planned out. How many phone calls do we need to make each day? How many notes do we need to write each day? You need to have goals for that as well. I think Deane and Tommy and I talk more the day to day, but my main goal each time, I have it right next to my desk. I'm going to make 8 phone calls to friends, family, COI. I'm going to write 3 personal notes that will impact so friends, family, COI. And I'm going to sit down with somebody each day face to face. So that's kind of what I call 8-3-1. So it's 8 phone calls, 3 notes, and then 1 face to face. If you can replicate that each week, that's what, if you're working 5 days a week, obviously we can work more than that as well. But that's going to be 40 phone calls, 15 notes, 5 face to face. Is that a pretty good week? Okay. When you break it down, like I said, it sounds like 40 phone calls, a lot of phone calls, 8 a day. That's how many hours does it take you to do that? 8 phone calls. Who can tell me?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? It's pretty good. On Mondays, we have our team meeting. We go immediately into a 2-hour call block. I've made anywhere from, I think this week was 12 phone calls. I actually got people on the phone and talked to them for a long time. I've also made 26 phone calls in that 2-hour block too. So it's that you can knock out a giant portion of that in those time blocks. I think it's good to have some time blocks set for that. But we want to make sure we're getting handwritten notes out. One of the things I have is I print off my entire COI. I have the Buffini CRM. There's other CRMs out there. It is good to print this out. Make sure you have all up-to-date information. That is going to be addresses, phone numbers, emails. I have sent out a thing called All About You to some clients a couple of years ago where it has just a bunch of questions. Kids' names, what are your birthdays, what's your anniversary dates? I have all that stuff inputted into my calendar, so when I need to write, if I get tired of writing notes to people I just had phone calls with, at the beginning of each month, I have a list of everyone's birthday that's in, I've already written all my December birthday notes. I did that on Monday. There were 29 notes on Monday. Took me 2 hours to do. I had purchase anniversaries. Anybody who had bought a house in December over the last 10 years. Now for me, I had all the birthdays in there all written out. I had a few wedding anniversaries, and I even had a few kids' birthdays. So those are other things I kind of found out through asking clients questions too. So getting all of that stuff completely filled out, figuring out, kind of having your attack list. If you have a goal for how many number of transactions you want to go through your COI and highlight who's the most likely person to make a move this year. Those should be kind of higher up on your list. If you have families who have just got married, had their first kid, you sold them a house a couple years ago, and they're in a 3-bed, 1.5 bath house, and it's not going to last for forever. They're already growing out of it. That's a person to talk to. Put them a little bit higher up on your list. Make phone calls. Just trying to identify those people. Ask them, hey, do you have a goal of making a move here in 2024? Start asking those questions. That starts building your pipeline up right now. Rather than just kind of shooting, just calling everyone. If you just sold a house to somebody yesterday, they're probably not going to be moving. Maybe you drop them down on your list a little bit as far as priorities go. But make sure you have everything filled out. There's a great, resource of if you have birthdays, anniversaries, those are all simple, easy reasons to call. And it's also, they are very appreciative. How many people get, a Facebook message for your birthday, happy birthday, all right? Is that personal? Not really. If you shoot off a text, is that a little bit more personal? Yes. How about you make a phone call? How about you drop off a little gift to them on their birthday? These are all little tiny things that it becomes a pop-by. That's showing a little more thought. You're gonna build deeper connections the more we can get, dive deeper into your database. So make sure we get all that stuff filled out. This is an incredible time of year. It's always, my theory is once daylight savings time's hit, everyone kind of shuts down. It's dark at 4:30. People don't like going out as much. That means for me, I want to get as face-to-face many people for coffees, lunches, dive deep, make sure we have the database filled out to the best of our ability on that. So those are some quick little tips and tricks there. Other things on the year, how are we working on bettering ourselves? I know we'll probably talk a little more about the day-to-day. Make sure you have a morning routine. Do something repetitive each morning, each day, that gets you in habits. If you can wake up, and I personally get up about 4:30 each morning, and it's early for some people, but that allows me, I have young kids, I get up, I go get some sort of sweat in, if that's going out to work out, bang myself up a little bit. I got no right arm, an old man now. So I've been walking in the mornings with a weighted backpack. I go walk 3 miles. I listen to either a podcast or I listen to absolutely nothing. That's kind of my quiet time to think, do whatever I know. On Monday, I walked around. I thought nothing about what I was putting into my goals for 2024. So you want to have this stuff at the forefront of your mind. Keep your goals posted, I think, right in front of you. And so if you write these things down and they get thrown in a drawer somewhere, you're not very likely to accomplish them. You're not going to be focused on them. We want to continue to remind ourselves what we got going in. I think it's a good idea to put either each week or each month to put a kind of a recap of where you are with your goals. How many people set goals and they look up in October, September, like, oh, I'm only halfway there. All right, we want to make this at the forefront. We got to have that right in front of our faces. What are we shooting for each day? One of the, I think, I'm not sure who said the quote, but I know Ben said it to me, is that when are you going to stop being tired of being average? All right, if you want to make it in this business, the average realtor is either getting out of the business or they're struggling really bad right now. So what are you going to do to separate yourselves? Like a lot of people will take off this time of year. There's everybody and their brother has taken PTO. In real estate, we don't get PTO, do we? Not at all. Probably quite the opposite. So take too much time off, you don't get anything. So, but other people have PTO right now, and I know I have buddies that have the entire month of December off, and they're just hunting, hanging out, doing nothing. That is a great time. If you have friends like that, call them, sit down, lunch, coffee, beers, whatever it may be. Go get face-to-face people, share what your goals are with them, see what their goals are for 2024, and make sure you work real estate into that. If they just bought a house last year, they're probably not going to move it again this year, but they just bought a house. They probably talked to other friends who are in similar situations, life events. Like I said, I use the example of the people who just got married 2 years ago, had their first kid, their house is too small, they just moved to a bigger one. Great. What other friends do you go with? What other coworkers do you have? What other people from church do you have? Who else do you hang out with is in that same situation? So we start digging deeper into those sort of people. I'm not doing on time here. Other things we want to work on just personally. What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? This is one of the sheets we had here. For me, I put less winging it instead of just not having a plan. You got to have a plan. I said I'm guilty of this. It's kind of, I call it drift. I'm really good for 2-3 weeks, and then I fall off a little bit. You got to recognize when you've drifted and recenter yourselves back and get back on track. And that's why I think it's good to kind of have those either weekly, monthly, quarterly check-ins on where you're at with your goals. Did you hit your goals this past week? If you didn't hit your goals this past week, then you may want to double up on something or make sure you get back to keep you on track. So being conscious of your activities is huge. I think tracking is great. I'm not the best tracker. Ben's a very good tracker. He's been beating it to my head for years now. I'm not one to sit in front of a computer and log each phone call. I'm walking around, doing laps around the office, laps around outside. But I always go back before our Monday meeting. I tally up how many phone calls did I make last week. So I think last week I had 44 phone calls, 22 notes. I only saw 3 people face to face. We always try to do an unexpected extra each week. So that's going above and beyond for a client. We all try to share those within the team, and we vote on who had the best unexpected extra. So I think Mara had one where you had to go pick up, what did you have last week?
It was the jacket I was showing for their kit, and I had to go pick up the jacket and touch it. It was like 45 minutes. It was fine.
So, unexpected. So I didn't want to do it, but did it anyway. So those are things we want to be doing for our clients. And just make sure we're staying in front. I listened to a Buffini episode this morning too. A lot of people, unless when you ask for a referral from somebody, you only talk to them once, twice a year, you're not gonna be top of mind. All right, you got to talk to people at least 3, 4, 5 times a year to ingrain what you're doing. You got to make sure you ask for the referral too. There's different ways people have, can be very relational with that, but you have to ask. The more specific you are with the ask, the more likely you are to get results too. Don't just ask for, hey, who do you know that plans on buying next year? It's, hey, do you have anybody else that's in a house that's too small, they just had their, second or third kid? You can actually think of somebody like that. It gives them a reason to think, instead of just like, oh, well, if I think of anybody, I'll let you know. You want to get specific with that. When you call back the next time, maybe ask for something a little bit different. Okay, always give them something new to reach out and ask for. But got to make sure we're doing our asks. Other more things for me, I just wrote down here just my daily goal. What do I need to do to win and earn each day? I know that the Buffini deal is like, would you put your name to the work you did today? Are you proud of the day that you put in? You should ask yourself that each day before you leave the office. Do I do enough today to, was it a good day? If I was getting paid a salary, did I earn my salary today? Or did I, loaf it in and just collect a check? So we will not get the check in real estate if you loaf it in. You've got to actually go out there and do the work. For me, I want to spend more time with my kids, also at home. So for me, that means getting in the office, having a goal, having it set, hitting that goal, and then getting out of there. Okay, we don't need to work 100 hours a week if you don't really need to. So if you can make those 2-hour blocks of phone calls, you can hit your goal of 40 pretty darn quick. All right. If you're making 16 calls one day and the next day you make 1, well, now you're back to having to really get after it the next day. So I think giant chunks of doing that, and just it's much easier to make phone calls when you're making phone calls. Like I said, if you make 1, hang up, you start scrolling, start doing something else, you're not really motivated to go make that next phone call. If you sit yourself in an office, lock the door, I'm making nothing but outbound phone calls for 2 hours. It's very simple. You get in a groove. Next thing you know, you start having some good conversations. Next thing you know, you hang up that phone, you're already dialing the next person without even thinking. Okay? So get in there, get locked in on that each day. More reading. I said this comes down to kind of more morning routine. I try to put good stuff in each day. That's either your podcast, reading books, but make sure you're putting good stuff in. For me, like I said, after I get back from workout, I have usually between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock before the kids get up. That is either when I'm sometimes writing notes, but a lot of times it's me reading something, trying to get better, learn something each day. Face to face, there's nothing better than face to face. Get out there in front of your people. They enjoy you. They like seeing you, like hearing from you. Don't think that, I just talked to them last week, they don't want to hear from me again. All right, still reach out, bring some value to them, see what else you can do to help out. What projects do they plan on doing in their house in 2024? What contractors can you recommend to them? Help them achieve their goals as well. So if you help them achieve their goals, they'll help you achieve your goals. So I think I'll turn it over to you know that.
All right.
So, yeah.
All right, start with a question. What's the difference between those two numbers?
1.
Huh? Well, if you follow mortgage rates, this is usually that. Right? Nate, is that correct?
Yeah.
This, I don't really know how to draw the Mona Lisa, but this is sort of like that. What about this one? I think in today's world, that would be like big time grins, right? So good news, a lot of companies are quoting 6.875 on conventional today, 6.375 on FHA. So that's good news, and we need to get out and celebrate that. What does that have to do with your goals? Well, hopefully if the rates come down, it's gonna make it easier to hit some of your real estate goals. Another thing I thought was pretty cool, Mike Ferry, who some of you are familiar with, sent out, every Monday they send out some quotes. I thought this was really a cool one because we have, this Hometown University every week, share a lot of knowledge. Today we have almost 50 years of experience in the real estate business that we're sharing these ideas with you. And this one was pretty interesting. It said, experience is the toughest teacher. She gives you the test first and the lesson after. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I don't know what that has to do with anything other than I thought it was neat. All right, so what I'm going to talk about is sort of focus more on your real estate goals, and here's some things that I think you've just got to be aware of. No matter what your individual goals are, I think these are things that you need to be aware of. You probably don't need to write all these things down, but something may hopefully resonate with you and you can focus on this. When you set goals, does it just automatically happen when you write your goals down? No. How does it take? Usually, does it happen faster than you think? Usually takes longer than you think, and you got to understand that it's going to take a little while to get where you want to go. Okay, and so you have to be patient. It's going to take longer than you want to see the results, especially in this. I don't know many people that got in this business and they're like, God, this happened so fast. I mean, wow, it's unbelievable. And we use the example of Ben. It took how long, Kevin, for Ben to sell his first house?
It was 7 months.
Yeah, 7 months. Most people would have done what? Quit. So he didn't, thank goodness for him and for everybody else. So the next point is you got to start every day at zero. No matter what happened yesterday, whether it was the best day of your life, what yesterday is yesterday. Today is a new day. And if it was the worst day, today's a new opportunity, right? And that's sort of the idea you have to have. I mean, it's sort of like I don't know anything about baseball, but I hear like if you're really good at hitting, you don't really, strike one, does the next pitch have anything to do with the first pitch? So that's sort of the idea. You just got to come up to the plate and you just got to clear your mind and know that you're capable of doing your best every day. So start every day at zero, clean slate. Kevin alluded to this. For the third point is you've got to get the stuff on the calendar. Whatever's important to you has got to be on the calendar and in the schedule or else it doesn't exist. How many days have you had that? Like I have stuff that I've had in my mind that I've wanted to do, and I never really wrote it down and never made a priority and put it with a time or a date, and it's still in my mind and it hasn't been done. Are you similar to that? I'm the only one. Okay, well, I'll make sure I write that one down. All right, if it's not on your calendar, it does not exist. This one's important as well. No interruptions before noon. You have to focus on high billable hour stuff before noon. I'll give you an example. Like when you go to your lawyer or your doctor's office, have you ever seen them like when you pull up, are they out like cutting the grass? Like, all right, man, I'll be in there in a minute. Let me just trim around these things. Are they doing that? They're focused on, especially in today's world, they're focused on the billable hour kind of stuff. And that's what you need to be doing as well. It's so easy to get distracted with. I heard one time that the realtor's most popular activity during the day is what?
Personal errands.
Personal errands. Yeah, personal errands. And it's funny because realtors, most of their lives are in shambles as well, so they're not doing a very good job of getting their personal errands done either. So you've got to get in the office and just get it done. If you can get to wherever you're going to do it, whether it's your home office or you're working at one of our offices, you need to get there and avoid the interruptions, avoid the distractions, and get to work. Ernie Chamberlain, who a lot of you guys know, works with us. He said one time, he said, you got to get the tough stuff out of the way first. Make the most difficult phone call first. Whatever you feel maybe the toughest about, get that done first. Why do you do that?
Everything else becomes easier.
Yeah, then everything else is a piece of cake. You get that out of the way. And usually if it's the most difficult, maybe it's sort of important too. And get that out of the way. It's not going to be lingering in your brain and distracting you as you go through some of the other activities. All right, here's one. Decide which one of these is your problem, or maybe all of them. Your inability to change. Is it hard to change? Is it hard to change?
Yes.
All right. your lack of commitment. You know, how committed to this, how committed are you to your goals? Is that a problem? And then the last one is this your problem? Getting your ego out of the way. What does that mean? No one knows.
Not too good for anything.
Not too good for anything is what Kevin said. I think it sort of relates to number one, your inability to change. My way, why would I need to change me? Because I'm perfect. You know, I don't need to listen to what Tommy's going to tell us because, I'm going to just do it my way. And maybe your way is spectacular, but I guarantee you, if you just take your ego and set that aside and be open to some new ideas and learn from other people, that is going to help you get to where you want to get faster than trying to reinvent the wheel on your own. Here's one that I wrote that said, as much as you despise the idea of this, you need to create some accountability in your life. If you're setting up goals and you're really going to be focused on getting somewhere that's going to make you extraordinary, not make you average, as Kevin said, you've got to have some accountability in your life. It's going to be difficult to do it on your own. There have to be some accountability measures. What would be some good accountability measures to help you get to your goals?
Accountability buddy.
Accountability buddy. Whatever that is. I don't know how you spell that. But a buddy to be accountable with. The easy way to do that is like if you're going to go to the gym and you're meeting somebody there every day, right? And if you don't show up, you got to pay that person $100, and you're probably more likely to get there, right? If you're trying to lose weight, you have to stand on the scale every day and then post that on Facebook. That's probably a little bit easier to lose some weight than if you just don't tell anybody about it and just keep getting bigger clothes, right? You know, you can track Kevin was talking about tracking your numbers. You know, you could, one thing you could do is have your plan, you know, your actual, like either your schedule or whatever your plan is, here's what I did today versus here's what I was supposed to do today. I think that's good personal accountability for yourself. And the last one I said you've really got to understand is try to identify your why. Because if you're really in touch with why you're doing all this, what does it really mean? Then it's a lot easier to stay on track. Do you agree with that? I mean, if it was a matter of survival, like life and death, it wouldn't be that difficult. Like if Mike, I've used this example before, if Mike sat in your office with a machine gun and your goals and your schedule, locked and loaded, and as soon as you go off track, he just guns you down. Do you think you would stay on the schedule, Jack?
Yeah.
Either that or you'd invest in some good, bulletproof clothing, which is very expensive. Especially at close range, it's not very effective. So you need to stay on target. You need to identify your why, because if your why is, I've got to get out of debt. I want to provide for my family. We've always wanted to take this vacation, and we're going to do that. I've always wanted to have a motorcycle. I've always wanted to do whatever it is. If you're passionate about that, if the desire to get that outweighs the little demon monkey, drunk monkey in your head that's saying, screw this. This is hard. I hate this. If the desire to get somewhere outweighs that, then you're more likely to stay on target. Do you agree with that? All right, cool. So I don't really know what the next topic is, but I wrote these things down too, so I'll share this with you. And then we're gonna go through a little schedule. These are just things that for your business, and you may have to slide the scale depending upon what your goals are, but these are things that you need to do. You may be an expert in some of these and you can eliminate this, but maybe you're not. Number one, learn and internalize some real estate dialogues. In particular, the mayor campaign. So the mayor campaign is what? Who knows the mayor campaign? No one knows the mayor campaign. So look, everybody needs to do this one. If you had a friend or family member who was looking to buy real estate, do you have an agent you refer them to, or would I be the agent you refer them to? Okay, good. We need to study that one. Remember, we do have some guests here that think that we are actually like professional real estate agents. Okay? So the just listed script, that's another one. When do you plan on moving and so on? Know that one? And then some kind of listing presentation, whether it be the Mike Ferry listing presentation, whether it be something you come up with or whatever, try to internalize and learn what you would say to try to generate business, and then what you would say to try to secure a listing. Why would you focus in this market? Why would you want to focus on your listing presentation? There's low inventory, which means if you get a listing, you're going to soon thereafter get a, and that's what a lot of us are interested in, correct? Okay. Next, identify the 5 most likely objections that you're going to hear in the marketplace today. And try to come up with some kind of the ability to work through those. We call those objection handlers. It might be the interest rates are too high. It might be we've never heard of you. It might be you're too new in the business. It might be we want you to cut your commission. It might be all of those. I don't know what it is, but if there's things out there that are going to prevent you from helping somebody get what they want, then you need to study and be able to at least talk intelligently. Is there any objection handler that works every time? No. But not having a clue how to handle any of them, that works every time to make sure you don't get any business. Practice and role play, minimum of 45 minutes per day, 5 times per week. Nobody wants to do that. In everything else, in any other world, practicing is very important. What did Allen Iverson say? Practice. Except for Allen Iverson. But in most other worlds, this is very important, and no one does it. So if you want to not be average, here's one way to certainly set yourself apart from the pack. Why would you practice? Practice makes you get better, right? Except for when I was playing golf, it never really helped. Okay, so the next one is refine. Kevin alluded to this. Refine, build your center of influence. At least 100 people on your center of influence. Unless you've been held hostage for the last 20 years and you don't know anyone, it's not that hard to get 100 people in your database, in your center of influence. We use those words interchangeably. I'd rather see you have 250, but at least 100, and they need to be on a list like Kevin's. And it could be in a CRM kind of program or whatever else. You got to have their name, you got to have their address, you got to have their email address, you got to have their cell phone number, and maybe some notes about what's going on. Okay. Next, you need to make 10 contacts a day to these people. 10 contacts. A contact means I've had a discussion voice to voice with these people, not leave a message, not, hang up on them or whatever else. You need to be talking to these people. 10 per day. All right. Ideally, you talk to these people at least once every 2 months, but once a month isn't bad. That's probably even better. Okay. Next is write 5 notes per day to your center of influence. That sounds really easy. How long does it take to write a handwritten note?
2 minutes.
If
About
you're
5 years, Deane.
yeah, that's probably closer to the thing. So for some of the guests here who are not experienced in what we're trying to do, why do we want to make a variety of contacts to these individuals? Why do we want to do that? You used the term before.
Stay in the forefront of your mind.
So yeah, top of mind is what Kevin said, forefront of their mind. And if you do that, then why do we want to do that? Why do we want to be top of mind? Yeah, they're going to refer you. Again, some people with the database they're thinking about, well, these are people that I want to sell homes or buy homes with, and that's true as well. But what's the biggest value of your database or your center of influence? Is it the deals that they're going to do? Yeah, your center of influence is your sales force. And their job is to go out and sell you to everyone that they encounter, right? You got to educate and motivate these people to do that. So if you can stay top of mind when they're at work, they may hear about, oh yeah, we just had triplets, and the house is really getting small. Well, maybe they can jump into action and say, well, gee, you need to call Jack. He can help you, find a new house. The power there is infinite if you build this database, if you build this referral army or whatever you want, sales force, whatever you want to call it. So you need to, and the best way to do that is to be in front of them, either verbally or face-to-face, which we'll talk about in just a second. We talk about writing the notes. Why are notes valuable again? just personal. You just don't get many handwritten notes in today's world. If people see a little note card with a handwritten address on it, people are likely to open it and read it. All right. The next is preview property a minimum of 1 hour to that, 1 hour per day. Okay, why would you do that? That's stupid. Why'd you do that? So you can talk like an expert as opposed to being an idiot, right? A lot of idiots in this business, okay? You want to separate yourself from being average? Know the inventory. Mike?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know who I should call until I see the property. So
There you go.
if I've seen property or especially land and stuff like that, once I see it, then all of a sudden it gets real clear who I should call.
That's a great point. That really wasn't my focus on this, but I think that's an excellent point. Another one is, if you're doing an open house and somebody comes in and maybe you can just tell they don't really like that house, if you toured everything in that general area, could you speak intelligently to those people? Would that set you apart from the next agent that they see at an open house? Probably would. And it just gives you an idea. If you've been around and seen a lot of property and you've seen the pricing and you see what sells and see what doesn't sell and see what condition things are in, do you think that would help you if you go on a listing presentation when it comes to pricing that property? Certainly would. Give you a lot more confidence. Make you look like you're much more competent in the business. All right, so preview a minimum of 1 hour per day. Pop by 2 center of influence and people in your database per day, or 10 per week, or 40 per month. You got to try to get the totals up, whether it's going to be a mass pop by like Kevin and I like to do, or whether you like to do just 1 or 2 a day. Whatever might work for you, or if you pick one day of the week to do 6 or 10 or whatever it might be. You need to be seeing the people. If you never see the people, it's a chance. You know, if you go by and then they have a enemy real estate sign in their front yard. Anybody ever done that? Like, I'm finally gonna do a pop by. You go over there, it's like a blue sign in the yard. You're like, oh, that hurts. That hurts. Whose fault is that? That's your fault. Prioritize your database. So you gotta have an idea of who the good ones are and who the ones that you're trying to build up, and the ones that maybe you're just always going to be there and maybe you're going to help you when they can, and you want to then sort of work on giving extra special golden gloves treatment to the A pluses, the A's, the ones at the top that are most likely to refer you. Then I wrote hold 2 open houses at least 3 times a month. Wear your hometown swag. And count how many people you ask for business each day. So we talked a lot about center of influence, but you also got to be trying to get business from people you don't know. I learned that from Mike over here. You know, I mean, Mike is just never afraid. He's going to bring up, in any situation, he will bring up real estate. He's really good at that. It's maybe hard to do that when you're role playing. You can work on doing that. Even having like a little pen like this, or your name tag or whatever. Somebody's like, oh, that's the ego gets in the way. I'm not wearing a name tag. People might think I work at the shoe store, right? But your name tag might bring up some conversation. Harry has on a Hometown Realty jacket. Other people have on different monogram stuff. Jake has on a sweater there that's got the Hometown logo on it. Somebody might say, oh, are you in real estate? What do you say there? Yes. And then what, do you leave? Is that going to get you a deal? Then you could go back, because you've internalized the scripts, you could say, I sure am. When do you plan on moving? And then that could generate a whole discussion, right? And then lastly, I said, you know, on a side note, you might want to join or start a referral group. That is something that has come in and out of favor over time, but I can tell you that people that are in good referral groups get a lot of business. Anybody here currently or ever been in a referral group where they have generated significant income? Let's pick Adrian. Like in your best year in a referral group, how much dollar closed business in your pocket?
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. My best year is 80,000. Now here's a question: are you still in one, Deane? Shut up! I'm the one who's talking. All right. My group, a group sort of can run its course if you're not careful. And the last group I was in for 8 years, and it sort of fizzled out. And one of the smartest things I can do in 2024 is to get going again in a group. But again, it's all about, if you don't put any effort in and you don't have good people in the group, it's not gonna really pay off. And you have to just be willing to make a commitment to it. All right, anything that I have left out there that you might just be on the top of your head that you wanna say? Sensing none, because I got it perfect, we will, look at this high-tech situation here. All right, here's like a sample schedule. People say, well, I just don't know how to do a schedule. There's not enough time in the day. If you want to have enough time in the day, the whole game is efficiency, right? And having a schedule can make you much more efficient. The great equalizer is what? What do we all have the exact same amount of? Time. Now, you might say, well, I have to do something with my kids, or I've got something else going on. Okay, great. Well, you got to modify this. But this is just a sample that could work for you. Kevin says he gets up at 4:30. All right, great. Let's say he started at 4:30, right? All right, so we all got to wake up. That's one thing. So you have to pick a time to wake up. 5:30 is that a normal time for people to wake up?
No.
It's earlier than when most people. Again, you want to do things that other people aren't willing to do so you can get the results that they'll never get, right? Okay, exercise. Why is exercise important?
Energy.
Gives you energy in the morning, helps you stay fit. You know, I think it's just very important. If you hate exercise, then maybe you need to really start exercising. But anyway, it's good for you. So 5:45, so you get 15 minutes to get your act together, then start exercising, no matter what it is you want to do. You walk around the block, you could, swim the James River, you could do whatever the hell you want to do, but something to get your endorphins moving in your body. All right, 8 o'clock, arrive at the office. So I've given you an hour and 15 minutes from the time you exercise to the time you get to the office. And you need that. If the schedule is too tight, it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, you abandon it. All right? So you arrive at the office. As soon as you get there, that's the best time to role play. Because you can have an accountability partner and say, hey, look, we're going to be there. Craig and I are accountability partners, and I say, we're getting to the office at 8, we'll start role playing. If he's there at 8, then I'll get there at 8. Get it? All right, and maybe some accountability measures, like I said before, if you write $100 or $200 or $300 checks, and if Craig doesn't show up, I take one of his checks, deposit in my account, right? Not about Craig, it's about me. No, that's going to make sure. I don't know how many times Craig's going to let that happen, right? Right. For instance, if it was like Mike with the machine gun, or if Craig got to just take one good shot and hit me right in the chops, if I don't show up one time, I'm going to show up one time. But in life, especially in what we do, we're independent contractors, so there's no accountability. Okay, the next one, after role play, calls to your center of influence. Okay, we already talked about you have to make those calls. This gives you an hour and a half to make those calls. All right, if you get lucky and you hit your 5 right off the bat, you can go for it even further, or you can start doing something else or have a little free time. The next, 10:45 to 11:15, do some lead follow-up. What if you don't have any leads? Well, then you want to do more prospecting so you can get some leads, right? 11:15 to 12, people are like, well, what happens if the termite inspector called and there's a problem? Well, believe me, in an hour, the house is not going to fall down because it has termites. Right? No one's ever died because of a real estate emergency. Right? And things can wait for a few minutes. Again, you need to spend your time doing your billable hour stuff that's going to make you money. So you're going to return to calls close to lunch. You're going to have lunch. You're going to preview property from 1 to 2. You're going to do your pop buys from 2 to 3. And then from 3 to 5 is sort of your flex time, returning calls, emails, plan tomorrow. Very important to plan this because you need to know where you're going to be going for your property, your previews. You need to know where you're going for your pop buys. It would make sense if you're previewing property to try to do some pop buys around the previews, and you can be more efficient. Do some transaction management. You got to take care of your deals. So you need to that's a good time to deal with that. And then also, you got appointments to go on. There was one other thing that I had said here, return emails, and then plan your weekend open houses. Is this a perfect schedule for each of us? No. But starting out with something like this, and then modifying it, again, you can line up over here and say, hey, this is my ideal schedule. Now, tomorrow, what did I actually do? And if something just consistently ain't working, you either gotta figure out a way to make it work, or realize that is never gonna work, and I need to do something a little bit different. But you need to, this needs to be consistent. If you're trying to do 250 deals next year, you probably need a little bit more prospecting time. If you only wanna do one deal next year, you probably can just throw this away. And just sit by the phone and hope, right? Any question about that? All right, Tommy, bring it home.
Oh boy, great, cool. Well, I get to do the fun part of potentially wrapping some things up and adding some different thoughts and commentary to some things. But as we're thinking about goal setting for the year ahead, right, 2024, what would some potential goals be, whether it's yours or you can make up a goal for somebody else for next year? What's a good goal for the year? Yeah, Mike.
Count and increase your number of contacts.
Okay, so increase your contacts, good. What else? Like one of, to give you an example of kind of where I'm going, you had said go on a vacation out of the country, right? All right, so that's a goal for the year ahead. What else might be a goal?
Certain income amount.
All right, certain income amount, that's kind of where I'm going too, yeah.
Save money for down payment on the next house.
All right, so maybe there's a down payment amount you want for your next house, yeah? Anybody want a new car? Is that anybody's goal? Anybody want a new boat? Anybody want a new house? Alright, some folks are thinking about a new house. Anybody wanna go on vacation? Alright, most of those things you can put a price tag on, right? So going to Ronnie's point of having some sort of income, but if you have a goal of going out of the country, you might say, okay, here's where we're going, here's how much it costs, and if you have a down payment amount that you're trying to hit, here's how much I wanna have in down payment, and probably fairly easily, you can then calculate overall income, and then there's a bunch of different math that we probably have to discuss, or you kind of seen with Buffini of, okay, if that's how much you wanna make per year, then how much you actually need to gross, because you gotta think about, you know, taxes and health insurance and some stuff like that. And then you can divide that out by maybe your average sales price for a home, or what you think an average house might sell for, commission, all that, and then you can figure out how many transactions, right? So who has an exact transaction amount goal already ahead for the year that they would like to share? Anybody have a transaction goal? Is everybody too shy to say it? Mike, what's your goal?
500 for the team.
500 for the team, alright?
52.
52, alright. You probably have a goal, Nick. What do you think?
Let's see, well, my goal for next year is 50.
50, okay. So then if you have a goal of 50 transactions or 24 transactions, right? What are some of the goals that you might have to help you get those transactions? Or maybe you can even steal some that Kevin shared for himself.
Listing appointments.
All right, so you have a set amount of listing appointments, yeah.
Calls notes, pop buys.
Calls, notes, pop buys, yeah. Events, right? So, I'm trying to think of some other things. So what I'm trying to get you to think through is, what's the year-long picture? What's the end result? End result's probably gonna be some sort of income or transaction or whatever. And then the things that'll help you attribute or get you there could be flushed down a little bit further, right? And so if you're gonna be doing events, if you're gonna be having a flying squirrels game, what I'm trying to think through is, let's just say some termite company drops off a really large calendar for the entire year on your desk that you can write on. That's ginormous, it's like this big by this big. How could you flush out some of those actual year-long goals into specific measurements? And so if you're having a squirrels game in June, what might be something you need to do in December for a squirrels game in June?
Save the date.
Save the date, right? All right, so it might just be putting a calendar. Anything else that we can be doing in December for a June squirrels game? Reserving the date with like the squirrels folks. Yeah, if you're gonna get a box or something, that might be something. Okay, what might you do for that same June flying squirrels game in January?
Sponsors.
Do you need to do anything in January? Yeah, it might be starting to contact sponsors, okay? So then you can put that on the calendar. What about February? Anything you need to be doing for your June game in February?
Invite list together.
Okay, maybe compiling the list,
Designing the invitation, maybe?
designing the invitation March. And so you would take this year-long goal, right, of you wanna get a certain transaction amount and you think events are gonna be that one that gets you there, then you take that event and you actually plot it out on your big termite company calendar or your own Google calendar or whatever it is, and you give yourself some actionable items along the way. And so, so as you're doing that, you might have a very specific day of, okay, on Tuesday the 3rd is when I, dedicate an hour and design an invitation or something like that. But you're trying to get that year long into some actionable items, bite-sized pieces throughout the year, so that you can go from annual goals to quarterly events to maybe monthly calls to action, something that you're gonna do, for the month, which would translate actually into defining a weekly task, and that weekly task would then translate into something on a specific day of what you're gonna plan for. So some of your goals for the year, it might be very repeatable things that you wanna do week in, week out, or month in, month out. And so, if you want your own, personal growth in the sense of building your skills on selling, then you might say, okay, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, that's part of your schedule. If one of your goals is to get in shape or whatnot, you're probably gonna need that to be more like an actual daily thing. And so you just take all these big ideas of goals and then you try to funnel it down into what does that actually look throughout the year. But what would happen if Kevin didn't do anything about the squirrels game for any of the months before June? What happens? Yeah, poor turnout, no reservation, you'd be
Reactive.
scrambling and stuff. So even this one event thing, I mean, it's gonna have a lot of action items that could be planned for right now. And there's some of those things that actually need to be planned for, starting now. Like the Mother's Day is quicker than the June date. Some other ones are I'm trying to think, what's probably your earliest in the year event?
March Madness.
March. So have you already been doing some stuff for March Madness, or is there much?
Not quite just yet, but yeah, that'll be in January, February.
Yeah. And so another thing you could do with that big old termite company's calendar is you could then plot out kind of what Kevin had already said about the home anniversary dates. You could literally plot all that out for the entire year, right? Like, everybody that bought a house this year or the years previous, what date that is. So you could plan for that right now. Like, you could write it on your calendar that on February 13th, this is the person's note that I write. Same thing with the birthdays. You could have that put on your calendar, so you have that stuff all planned ahead. Marketing calendar for the year, we kind of talked about, but again, you can actually assign specific dates to that stuff here and now in December. So this is generally a fairly, slower time for real estate. And like Kevin was saying, there's a lot of folks in other industries, I mean, they're taking an entire month off because it's kind of use it or lose it. Like, if they don't take their PTO now, they just aren't giving it. I think some realtors think that they could have done that, and we aren't gonna see them for the rest of the month and probably haven't seen them for the last couple of weeks. But you guys are here now to try to think through, okay, what can you do? So you could actually spend the next couple of days and literally kind of plot this stuff out, so you're not surprised by it, so you're not scrambling by it, and so forth and so on. And then around that, then you can kind of build all those daily activities of kind of that perfect day. And so, looking at some of this time stuff, I mean, one, that's gonna mean your perfect day kind of changes each day based off of all those things we just talked about and kind of plotted out. But the big thing there is a perfect day for you is gonna look different than a perfect day for me. And a perfect day for me on January 1 is also gonna look a lot different than a perfect day for me, June 1. I don't even know what, my life will look like and what kids will be involved in, or just what things are gonna look like that far out. So then there's also this importance of, being able to kind of change and tweak it accordingly. So you wanna think through those year-long goals, put an actual number to it. You can calculate, potential amount of income. You can then try to kind of guess and think through your transactions. Then you're gonna try to think through those transactions, put, goals of maybe listing appointments, a set amount of phone calls, a set amount of pop buys. Then you can turn that into a monthly goal, you can turn that into, the monthly into a weekly, and you can be tracking them, and tracking those numbers, accordingly. So that's kind of my thought on goal settings, and a lot of that stuff for the goals can be, thought through now, and it can still be tweaked, throughout the year. But a lot of these things you can kind of plot plan for, here and now, so. That's what I got. What questions do you have for the three of us, or what else can we get into the conversation about for the next few minutes? Anything?
What about morning routine? I was talking about how, important to me, but for you two guys, what is morning routine and how important is that?
Yeah, I actually have a printout of my morning. Mine's pretty similar. It's definitely working out early, and then doing some family stuff, getting the kids ready for school, all that stuff, get them out the door, and then getting to the office and working on some emails. I think I stole this from Ben Rogers, but in real estate, there's essentially the business and there's the job. And you're not gonna have a job if you don't have a business. And so the business part is generating leads. And so I try to stack at the front of my day, focusing on the business, and the second half of the day doing the job. So the business is generating leads, the job is writing addendums, going on home inspections, unlocking doors for a contractor, termite inspector. So I try to have that be the second half of my day, the business be the generating, lead generation, so.
Yeah, when do you think most people are available to, meet or go look at houses or show houses? It's usually after work. You have control of the morning, and then once the morning is kind of gone, that's when the rest of the day really happens. So that's why the morning routine is so important. If you're getting out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're not getting to the office till 9:30, your days, I've already, beat the crap out of you. I've woken up, I've worked out, I've read, I've made 15, 20 phone calls, I've written 10 notes before you even got to the office. So that's, in this market, that's what it's going to take. It's, who's gonna outwork the next person. If you're not out there working hard, then, you're gonna get passed by. There's a Les Brown quote: if you do what is easy, life will be hard. If you do what is hard, life will be easy. So I try to think of that one. It's usually top of mind for me a lot of times. And also, it just makes things very binary. Is this helping me or hurting me? If I catch myself scrolling on my phone, damn it, back to it. You gotta realize and recognize, be conscious of what you're doing to make sure you're progressing and getting somewhere. You're not just sitting there getting through the day. And so we don't get paid to sit at the office. If you leave at 5 o'clock, you're not checking the timestamp. But if you get all your stuff done before noon and you have the whole afternoon to go preview properties, go see people, get face to face, that's where you can really, amplify your business. So, Mike?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question of, what's the mind trick for you to get back to the money-making stuff versus all the other? Because one of y'all said you make a call and then you get sidetracked. How do you get the call number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10 versus getting knocked off track?
For me, it's having it kind of in my schedule. Like I said, I know on Mondays from 10 to 12, my door is shut and I'm making outbound phone calls. And our team, what we do is we try to have a little competition where we split the team up in half. Team A versus Team B, we come together at the end. Which team had more phone calls on average per person? Whoever wins, that team gets a point. We have rewards kind of at each quarter. We get team gear or something like that. But we make it a competition. Like I said, if you're not on a team, it may be worth looking into getting on a team or getting somebody to help guide you through a lot of this stuff too. I said, accountability buddies. I said that's a good thing to have. I said you push each other, you make each other better. If that is going through and doing role playing, then role play. But the more conversations you have about real estate, the better off you're going to be. So if you don't talk about real estate, you're talking about what was the score of the game last night and all that. That doesn't really help out, but so much. So make sure you have a real estate centered phone calls, and it's really, it's just hang up, dial again. So just kind of, you eliminate distractions best you can. So we don't want to have everything else on there. I have like a timer on my phone where it's, I get notified if I've been on I think it's 15 minutes total between like Facebook, Instagram, which I don't do a whole lot. I usually use that just to look up people's birth dates and things like that's how I use it. But I mean, just being conscious of that and being like, I gotta zoom back in. Some people put a timer on their phone for every hour on the hour to, you know, do a mental check-in with yourself. You know, hey, am I on track? Am I off track? If I'm off track, I gotta get back on track. So that's what I've used for.
Mike, I'll go on that one too. If I have a plan and I have the details and of everything that needs to be done in front of me, then I'm really good at implementing that plan. So I'll give you an example. With pop buys, every Thanksgiving, Lucy, my assistant, will give me a list of the people. We already have the route, so I just need to go, you know, John Smith, Sally, Sue, whatever, bang, bang, bang. And we got the pies, we planned all that before, and I just go do it, okay? And I get them done. It's like 80 pop buys starting on Sunday before Thanksgiving, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, get them done. Easy. Sometimes, I remember one time we've got these plastic popcorn things. Remember that, Adrian? We had these popcorn things, and the plan was to just do a couple every day or whatever. I don't know if I did any, because I didn't know who I was going to do them with. I just kept, so I had popcorn, like broken popcorn things in the back of my car. The dog would eat the microwave popcorn, and it just sucked because I didn't really have a great plan. I didn't have the list. It's like making your calls. Part of that 3 to 5 time is laying the calls out for yourself of exactly who it's going to be the next day. Know where you're going to go pop by the next day. Know who the notes we're going to be writing to the next day. And some of the CRM programs will help you with that, or you can do it old school and just get a pad out and write them down.
You know, just having a reason to reach out to people. So that's why I try to have different events throughout the year. So like Mother's Day, I have my whole list of mothers. All right, that's my reason to make phone calls. If I go into the day where it's just like, all right, I'm gonna make 10 phone calls, I have no list, got nothing planned out, usually don't make the 10 phone calls. It's kind of like, oh, I gotta find a reason to call somebody. But having events, business mixers, whatever it may be, you know, that gives you all the reasons to call in the world. That, you know, create your own call list for you right there. So it said, have a plan. You know, so I always, it's a kind of staple, I know for Ben, myself, is I have tomorrow is written down before I leave the office each day. All right, that way I can go home and I can enjoy the time with my wife, my kids. I'm not thinking about work stuff. I have it all worked out, planned out. I know what I'm getting up, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm going to attack the next day.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, we're 3 minutes over. Thanks for being here. We got one more of these. We'll be here next Wednesday. What's the topic? We know what it is next week? We don't know. It's gonna be great.